Adrian, we're here at the 2011 Draft Combine at Etihad Stadium today. Can you talk us through what's involved with the Combine over the next couple of days?
Yeah, today is the second day. We started yesterday and we had our speed test this morning. At the moment you can see behind me we're doing the repeat speed test, which is a really good indicator for repeated efforts in a game of AFL football. Over the course of the next couple of days there's a lot of interviews with all the players, and there's a beep test and a 3K time trial on Friday, which is always a really good indicator. All the coaches are here from the club, so it's a great exercise to be part of.
And what specifically are you and the coaches looking to take out of the Combine this year?
Well, it's an interesting combine because there's 120 players here this year, which is the most that there's ever been. Plus there's 18 teams in the draft, which is the most there's ever been in the history of the AFL. So there's a lot of challenges ahead. The challenge for us will be to know these guys as well as we possibly can. And prior to trade week next week, we don't know what our draft picks will be because we may be trading picks or obtaining picks. So all we're doing this week is gaining as much knowledge on all these kids as possible.
And can you talk to us about how the introduction of the GWS team this year is going to impact this year's draft?
Well, it's going to impact the draft, there's no doubt, because as was the case last year with Gold Coast, they get the majority of the first round draft selections. And by virtue of the fact that we finished in the 8th this year, which was a great result for the club, we ended up getting picked 19 as our first selection. So it's not exactly a top 10 draft pick. Last year we were fortunate enough to pick up Dyson Heppel, who won the Rising Star. So we're hoping that we can do some damage at pick 19 this year if we keep that selection.
And I know we can't give too much away, but how are we looking to add to the midfield strength this year at the draft?
Well, there's a lot of talent out there, and speaking to Hurdy and Simon Goodwin, our midfield coach, they're pretty happy with the players that we've presented to them. So we think there's a couple of kids there that would bolster our midfield this year. And having said that, there's a trade week next week which we'll also go into with an open mind.
Can you explain to us what happens after the Combine leading into the national draft?
There's quite a bit of work from a recruiting perspective. This is a really good indicator. So once we get all the data, the information, the psych tests, the medical information, we would have interviewed all the players by this stage, but what we then do is do a secondary round of interviews based on the data that we've got. So there's still a lot of work to do in terms of ranking players. So with 18 teams, as I said, there's a lot more players that are going to be drafted.